Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos, and I welcome you online and everyone here today. And we are so blessed to have this fabulous, wonderful Sunday in August that we are blessed to be here. So, long, long ago, there was a very wise king, and he had a great highway built right after it was completed, but before it was opened officially. The king decided to have a contest to see who could travel the highway the best. And he invited everyone in the kingdom to participate. And so on the day of the contest, all the people came. And some of them had fine chariots, and some of them had exquisite wardrobes and wonderful hairdos. Some of them just had great food that they brought with them. And there was even some young men who ran the highway the whole way. Yes. And so anyway, as they got to the finish line, every single one of them complained to the king about how there was this huge pile of rocks blocking and hindering them being able to travel well. And so, they were like, hey, this needs to be taken care of, right? Well, towards the very last of the day, this very weary lone traveler comes in. He's dirty, and he walks up to the king, though, and he hands him a bag of gold. And he explains to him, I stopped along the way because there was a pile of rocks, and I removed the debris from the highway. And underneath it was this bag of gold. Could you be sure and give it to its rightful owner? And the king looked at him and he replied, you are the rightful owner. And the man said, oh no, I've never had that kind of wealth. It's not my gold. The king replied, yes, you are. You've earned this gold because he said that the one who travels the road best is the one who makes the road smoother for those who will follow. Yeah. So, how often do we make the road smoother for ourselves and others? So that's just a thought to contemplate today. A road smoother is the title to this message, and it's about this honorable traveler on the King's Road. It's about choosing to live in such a way that you and I offer each other a less difficult path to finding and knowing great good in our lives, an abundant life, one that has a sense of joy and peace in it and hope, okay? And so one of the better ways to create a smoother journey for ourselves and others is to build on the highway. That was funny. Well, all right, seriously. Setting our goals and making our hopes and dreams a reality can be a win-win-win situation with choices that are for the betterment not only for ourselves, but for everyone. And Spirit reveals those things that make it possible. Some of the most helpful means that you and I do to remove those rocks in our lives come through our sacred teachings like Jesus's, the Beatitudes. And as with most sacred teachings and wisdom, the trick is in the demonstration of them in our lives. Is that not right? Yes. Okay, yes. So living them is how you and I become a road smoother as well. And so the Beatitudes offer us a shorthand version of Jesus' teachings. They serve like a spiritual GPS. Anybody ever used like Waze or Google or any of those others? Right? The thing I've discovered about following a GPS is that you never quite know which path it's going to take you on, do you? But you do believe it will get you there, don't you? Don't you? Well, most of us anyway. And it usually takes us there, but sometimes it takes us somewhere else. And what I've found is, I never know what route it's going to take me on, but there's always something about it that's important. So Jesus took the multitude of Hebrew teachings and he collapsed them into a simple wisdom because most of the people of his day were not educated. They couldn't even read or write, right? And he made them so simple, right? And to me, that's a road smoother, okay? And he talks about God in such a way that the uneducated can really understand. I think that's kind of like moving huge rocks out of the way for me. He focused on heaven on earth. His focus, his mission was heaven on earth for you and I. And he took those Jewish teachings about living good, abundant lives as sons and daughters of the Most High, okay? And he made them to understand that they too could have a relationship. They could have a sense of God in their life, where there wasn't need for envy or greed or a sense of separation, okay? Mercy in action, as far as I can tell you. So we're looking today at the Beatitude on mercy.
Mercy.
Yes, thank you. All right, so mercy. So blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Part of being a road smoother is being a way shower, in that we show others a way to go, that we become an example and a role model for those that we know or have yet to come to know. And that we, in this case, are going to talk about how Jesus' journey and teachings are a way through human consciousness and a way to grow spiritually with the demonstration or the expression of our own innate wholeness, that place within us that God made, that we are the children, truly the children. And so we're made in that image and likeness of God, and that's what we're taught. And I really understand that. So may the path of your healing be one of kindness and compassion, justice and mercy. All right. For blessed are the merciful, right? Blessed are the merciful. And all the Beatitudes, this is the one that gives tit for tat, so to speak. In all the other Beatitudes, there was something else that you were given if you followed that principle. This one, it was so important and so necessary as a part of our spiritual growth that mercy is what you receive. And one of my preferred authors is Emmett Fox. And the part of the Beatitudes regarding mercy in his book, Sermon on the Mount, says, "The vital bearing of the principle covered in this beatitude lies in its application to the realm of thought." Now keep in mind, thought is thinking and feeling combined, okay? And the thing that matters is that you and I be merciful in our thought. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm not always kind in my thoughts about someone else. I try, but sometimes those things just come up, right? Snap, and I snap too. Maybe not, but sometimes. All right. Our thinking and feeling combined make up a thought that has creative power. And our merciful thoughts about men and women who are generating harm to us or another in some way blesses that person spiritually, mentally, and materially. And it blesses you too. Now, just because you extend mercy to someone doesn't mean that you have to let people walk on you or accept behavior that is harmful or hurts, okay? It's about where you and I come from and how we choose to handle that experience. Some of our growing edges are lots harder to heal than others, okay? And being kind and merciful when others are being critical or snarly, as I like to think of it sometimes, is difficult at best, all right? That's the truth. It's just not easy. It is simple, but it is not easy. We're not usually at our best, are we? I mean, when something like that comes up, are you at your best? I'm at my best worst. I've been there. Yeah. All right. So, being kind and merciful when others are being critical, or they're being judgmental, or they're being harmful, or whatever is going on. It's not that those folks deserve mercy, but God bless them. They need it more than we do even. I mean, and that's the truth. If they're acting in that behavior, you know that they're Christ self. Their whole being, their soul is crying. I mean, they're pleading for something, for love, for acceptance, for mercy. So it's important to remember at those times, if you can, that when we show kindness to others and mercy, it keeps us from holding on to self-condemnation. It frees us from self-condemnation when we do that, as we refuse to condemn another. Okay? So let us be merciful in our mental judgments, for in truth, the more deeply he or she errs, all right, the more urgent it is that their soul needs what we can provide to help them free themselves from that sin, okay? When you become their target in some way, that is the time to remember that Christ light within us, okay? So you can be true to your own soul by being merciful in that point. Sometimes it's just how we think about them. It's not always something we show on the outside. Sometimes it's just how we hold them in our hearts and minds. Now, I know there are some of you listening that are familiar with mercy and hope and love, because I've seen it, I've experienced it in my own life. And it's vital to us to have that spiritual growth that comes through living mercy when we do it. Because it brings to us understanding. It brings to us a sense of peace of mind. And it also brings to us many other of the gifts or the things that we pray for in our lives, right? So one of my ministerial classmates told a story of a time as a young man when he got himself into a whale of trouble, all right? And he didn't tell us what actually happened, but he was sharing that he finally went to his father, and he was so humiliated, he was so overwhelmed over the consequences, the possible consequences of his behavior and actions, right? And when he finished saying something about it, he said that his dad said something like this: "I've loved you your whole life. I tried to help you see that, and I also wanted you to learn that you could come to me with anything, because I am more than just your father, and of course I will help you now." Mercy? Hello? Yeah. I don't know what happened, but I do know that whatever it was, he said that it basically saved his life in more ways than one. However his dad helped him and however he got out of his trouble, that's not important. What was important was that this man showed mercy to his son, his adult son, who, quote, should know better, right? And I know that those of you out there who are listening, and each of you have probably showed mercy to your family or children or different loved ones. And God bless you, because you know what? In doing so, you help remove cynicism and fear and distrust and greed and envy and so many things. You help to lessen that effect upon us as human beings every time you do that. And so you have a power within you to make this world better, even just in your own thoughts of mercy towards another. I hope after this message you will choose, like me, to become a road smoother for those in your lives. My dearest friend, who passed a few years ago, was the first time I really made a conscious, intentional effort. She inspired me to be merciful to not only myself but to others, to simply listen to them and show that mercy, okay? And to listen within myself too. And I know I'm not alone. There are those of you who do that in your life daily. And I'm just encouraging you to make it a part of your life on a daily basis. For the capacity of mercy seeks to express through you and me, okay? And it is also one of the more challenging ways that Christ within us tries to come forward. Why? Why do you think that? Why do you think it's challenging?
Because they're annoying us?
Well, yes, because they're annoying us or they've hurt us and we're reacting, right? But the reality is, mercy asks you and me to move out of judgment, out of criticism, out of anger or resentments, or it asks us to move beyond into kindness, into compassion, into consideration for ourselves and another person. It is the most noble of ideas and attributes of God. And it is an attribute of God that can move through you and me. And it seeks to constantly. It's one of those things that once you and I have connected to it, it's like it wants to flow. And it just comes to us. More situations will come to us in order to do that too. So just heads up on that. Once we make that commitment within our own being of being merciful, guess what? We get to do that. Thank God. All right, so mercy has its own beatitude. It's such an important soul quality. We can, if we choose, follow the way Jesus blazed through us through human consciousness and ignorance so that our path can be more abundant. And it can make it our own lives easier. That's a relative term, of course, But we do this by studying Jesus' teachings and his wisdom. And through our own personal practices of prayer and meditation, we're able to bring that sense of mercy to life and give it life. It's akin to love and compassion, for it truly is love in action. But it asks us to endeavor. You have to make an intentional effort to be merciful. It's not something that just flows like some of the things that we have in our lives, those thoughts that go, So, mercy isn't earned, and it is simply meant to flow through us. And the more we see others with the eyes of Christ, the more we will get an opportunity to do that, to see the mercy and to let it come forth. Because it will ask. It will knock on the doors of our heart. It really will. Clearing those rocks of mistrust and mistreatment, bitterness, resentment, annoyances, they can take a lifetime, but they're worth it. For underneath them is that gold, the gold of that presence of God that awakens us and brings us forward to more purpose, a sense of mission of knowing and expressing all that God is within us. And it is that compassionate embrace of the enemies, if you will, within us and around us, the quality that we call mercy, that strengthens our very souls. I got a little tickle. Actually, I'll just use some of this real quick. One wonderful thing about mercy and compassion is that the more we practice it, the better we get at it. Okay? So that embrace of the enemies within and around brings to us that soul quality called mercy. And it opens the way to strengthen our own souls and to find a connection with Christ Jesus. It really does. Some of the synonyms for mercy are benevolence, forbearance, forgiveness, kindness, sympathy. And very tellingly, I think its antonym or opposite meaning is cruelty. And I think many of us learned a great deal more about cruelty than mercy and compassion in our younger years. And maybe we're not cruel towards others, and sometimes we are towards ourselves at the minimum. But being cruel towards ourselves and telling ourselves like how bad we are, or how unworthy we are, or how stupid we are, or, I mean, you can put your own words, because I bet you've got a few. I know I have. I did have. I'm getting better at some of them. But I would like to close with this thought from Jesus. He said, and we can pass this on, whatever you did for one of these least brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. God bless you for being with me, and we thank you for this opportunity to be Unity Church of San Marcos. God bless you.